Greetings, everybody. My name is James. I am from the internet, and today we're going to be talking about the tax man. Now, I think it is pretty safe to say that the overwhelming majority of people do not like having to pay taxes. It's just literally money just vanishing right out of your pocket anytime you earn money or spend money. And unfortunately, taxation has been around for a very long time. It literally predates our current capitalist economic system by thousands of years. Now, sure, granted, back in the day, they might have called it a tithe, or they might have called it a present, or whatever they called it. Basically, if you, as a laborer, a worker, a townsperson, somebody who lived in a valley somewhere, and a bunch of people came down on horseback with weapons and said, "Your lord demands tribute." Well, if you didn't give them, like some of your cows or your chickens, they'd burn down your house, kill your wife, and take your children and put them into slavery. So, no matter what you want to call it, taxation has been around for literally eternity and is going to be around longer than any of us are going to live. So, the question becomes, how do we deal with taxation? How do we make taxation more equitable so that, quote, everybody is paying their fair share, but nobody is paying more than they can afford to pay? You know, so that our general overall society is improved. Now, shockingly, the idea of everybody having to pay a fair share of taxes within a system in which everybody is taxed seems to really piss off or bother conservatives who believe that one day they will also be wealthy, and then once they are, pish posh, they shouldn't have to pay taxes. So what I thought I would do today is take a look at the newest foot-in-mouth, we shouldn't tax the billionaires statement, followed by a factual walk down memory lane of the last 50 years or so we can determine if our current system of taxation is actually working in a way that's beneficial to the overall society rather than just to a system or just to a few people who can afford to essentially control that system. All right, here we go. So let's kick it off with a little listen to what Mitt Romney, he who has billions of dollars and owns dancing horses, has to say about the really ridiculous idea of taxing wealthy people so that society doesn't implode. Hit me, Mitch. What do you got?
Well, first of all, it's not a good idea to tell billionaires, don't come to America, don't start your business here, to tell the Steve Jobs and the Bill Gates and people like that, this isn't the place to begin your business, go somewhere else. That's a bad idea. But number two, you're going to tax people not when they sell something, but just when they own it and the value goes up. And what that means is that people are, these multi-billionaires, are going to look and say, I don't want to invest in the stock market because as that goes up, I'm going to get taxed. So maybe I will instead invest in a ranch or in paintings or things that don't build jobs and create a stronger economy.
So unsurprisingly, the billionaire has a ton of reasons why we shouldn't tax billionaires on the billions of dollars of wealth that they have hoarded off of the backs of the laborers. I've been hearing that wealthy people are going to leave the country if we raise taxes since I was a kid. And yeah, sometimes taxes go up, sometimes taxes go down. Oddly enough, none of them leave. You know why? Because this is literally the best place in the world to be a wealthy person. You can literally do whatever you want. You can literally get away with murder here if you have billions of dollars. You can own entire industries. You can own entire states. You can buy politicians because money is free speech. So no, I don't think the billionaires are just gonna pick up and move to fucking Kenya if we decide to tax billionaires. It's not a thing. You know why? Because, contrary to popular belief, old rich white people would rather be billionaires in the United States of America and pay taxes as opposed to being billionaires somewhere in a country where they don't have all of the amazing luxuries and technology and all of the other shit that we have here in this country that labor has built over the course of the last couple hundred years. Also, side note, Mitt Romney saying that wealthy people don't want to pay taxes on stuff that they have that's worth money, so instead they'll just dunk it away and buy a ranch, which is property that goes up in value and is also literally taxed every single year via county or state property tax. This is just how far removed billionaires are from regular society, okay? Now, let me show you what the Mitt Romney billionaire train of thought has looked like in action over the better part of the last 50 years as implemented through our tax code. Well, to start with, if you make $100,000 in income from busting your ass and laboring, and meanwhile, a wealthy person makes $100,000 in profit from selling a stock, that person will essentially get an extra $9,000 more than you, or rather, they will pay $9,000 less on taxes on their $100,000 earning as you do on your $100,000 earning. Why? Because a wealthy person's making money, is taxed at a lower rate than you are for actually laboring and making money. How did this come to pass? Well, it's pretty easy. You see, the people who make hundreds of thousands of dollars a year selling stocks take that money, then they lobby their representatives, and lo and behold, government puts out new laws and new tax codes and new loopholes for wealthy people. In fact, the ultra wealthy make so much and pay so little because, again, they don't derive their wealth from income or laboring. They literally pay an 8% effective tax rate on all of the wealth that they accrue. You, as a member of the working class, cannot say that. And now for a little bit of a long view as to what it has looked like since we have started this downhill slide where we just let the wealthy pay as little as they want while the rest of us get dogged by the government for every last cent they can squeeze out of us. Tax cuts for the wealthy have long drawn support from conservative lawmakers and economists who argue that such measures will, quote, trickle down and eventually boost jobs and incomes for everybody else. But a new study from the London School of Economics, I hear they know a thing or two about this stuff, says 50 years of such tax cuts have only helped one group, the rich. Sorry, that was my I'm shocked face, because I'm not fucking shocked. The new paper examines 18 developed countries from Australia to the United States over a 50-year period from 1965 to 2015. The study compared countries that passed tax cuts in a specific year, such as the U.S. in 1982, when Ronald Reagan slashed taxes on the wealthy, with those that didn't, and then examined and compared their economic outcomes. Per capita gross domestic product and unemployment rates were nearly identical after 5 years in countries that slashed taxes versus countries that didn't. Wait a minute, I thought not taxing the wealthy would then make the unemployment rate go down even further because, again, the wealthy would rain down their benevolence on us by creating corporations that hired tons of people and created jobs so that, people had income and could generate wealth. But it would seem that that is not the case. However, analysts did discover one major change. The incomes of the rich grew much faster in countries where tax rates were lowered. Instead of trickling down to the middle class, tax cuts for the rich may not accomplish much more than help the rich keep more of their riches and exacerbate income inequality, the research indicates. Quote, based on our research, we would argue that the economic rationale for keeping taxes on the rich low is weak. In fact, if we look back into history, the period with the highest taxes on the rich, the post-World War II period, was also a period with high economic growth and low unemployment. And yet, even with all of these facts, all of this data, and all of this research, somehow wealthy people in government are able to convince half, if not more, of our society here in the United States of America that raising taxes on the billionaires would somehow be a bad thing. It must be nice to, have enough money that you can pay for that kind of an effective level of a marketing program and, then pay for it every single year for 50 years because, oh, that's right, the amount of money they spend on lobbying and marketing is less than the total amount of money they would spend if they just paid fucking taxes. Since the pandemic began, the combined wealth of America's 651 billionaires has jumped by more than $1 trillion, reaching $4 trillion in early December. Meanwhile, almost 8 million Americans have fallen into poverty since the start of the pandemic through November. In other words, the system continues to funnel more money to the people who have money, literally extracting wealth out of the working class and the middle class through the government into the hands of the wealthy. And still, people will stand up for billionaires saying that they shouldn't have to pay more in taxes. More than the total 8% that they are currently paying in actual taxes. And then, of course, because wealthy people who are paying very little in taxes have all that money, well, they control all the businesses that all the poors work at. Then they go out of the way to suppress those people's wages, and as you can see, everybody else stays flat while the wealthy continue to extract more and more wealth from our labor. To give you an idea of just how ludicrously wealthy the top 1% of people are in this country, take a good look at this graph. You see that really high fucking line up there? That's only the household net worth increase of the top 2% to the top 20% of all earners by income groups in the United States of America. They couldn't put the top 1% on this graph because the graph would have been too fucking tall. And if none of that was able to give you some perspective on just how much the wealthy have versus how much they pay versus how much the rest of us have, I would like you to take a look at a picture of this here big ass dragon. His name is Smog. You might remember him from some books and some movies. I've been led to believe people know who he is. Hola, Smog. Nice to meet you. Smog, our friend here from The Hobbit, famously stole an entire mountain full of gold. So full that he sleeps buried under gold. We're talking literal tons of gold by weight. Forbes magazine rates Smog as only the second wealthiest fictional character. He was first, but the price of gold took a tumble, and now his vast overwhelming fortune is only worth an estimated $51 billion. Oddly enough, Smog, his mountain of gold worth $51 billion, would only rank him as the 15th wealthiest individual in the United States of America. Now, to be fair, the wealthiest individuals in the United States of America at least pay an effective tax rate of 8%. Smog pays none. However, I could argue that Smog has literally generated more jobs between writing, movie making, merch, copyright law, special appearances, and of course, people who get paid to make memes than some billionaires have made. So at this point, we might as well have Smog move here because it wouldn't be any worse. So what does this mean for you, the average viewer at home, the fellow member of the working class? Well, number one, it means that we could literally replace billionaires with actual dragons, and there wouldn't be much of a noticeable dip in the total services offered by the government to the rest of us. Because again, 8% tax isn't a whole hell of a lot. And again, these people also loophole a bunch of other taxes. Like every time they go to open a business and then they lobby local governments and then they pick the one that gives them the longest, cheapest tax abatement to build a fucking building there. So when Elon Musk and his $200 billion go and move to Texas, I can promise you none of the facilities that he is going to build there are going to pay a cent in property tax anytime time while you are still alive. So at some point, we have got to put a stop to this. We have got to jam on the brakes. The wealthy obviously don't want to pay us more for our labor, and they obviously want to pay government to keep our taxes high while reducing theirs. This is an untenable situation. And very quickly, I would like to point out to the people at home who are, oh, let's get rid of taxes. Listen, I don't disagree with you. I do not like paying taxes. Nobody does. But if you just got rid of taxes tomorrow, you do know the federal unemployment rate would be about 50%. Right? Because most states in the United States of America, roughly 1/3 of their labor force is employed by the state. And the state gets roughly 90% of the funding for all the programs to pay all those people through federal grant dollars. And federal grant dollars come from, survey says, you get it, federal taxation. So no matter how you slice it, you are stuck with a system of taxation. So instead of going out of your way to cape for wealthy billionaires who literally already have billions of dollars and are doing everything they can to ensure that you make as little as possible, and I don't know, maybe start demanding that the wealthy pay their fair share in taxes since they're not going to pay any of us a living wage to start with. Until next time, my name is James. I am from the internet, and I am out. Peace.